Hello, everyone. Peter Dennis here. On November 20th last year, I was contacted by a personal assistant for someone I had never heard of. The request was that we have an interview or a chat really on Zoom. And it was explained to me that this interviewer or this person was in the channeling business and had an organization called ORYKL, and it helped channelers. This, of course, caught my attention, and I consented to have that conversation. And it was there that I met Huenu Solsona. In the course of what turned out to be about a 2 hour conversation, I think we both felt we were pretty much on the same page on a lot of things. And I think spiritual development, spirit realms, channeling, and both of us had a business background, which you don't find every day in the channeling world.
Yeah.
So Weno and I decided that we should stay in touch and that most probably we'd be able to help each other. So that's what we're doing today. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you Huenu Solsona. So Huenu, welcome, and it's a pleasure to be with you again.
Thank you so much, Peter. It's so lovely to chat with you again. We did have an amazing conversation, and yeah, I'm super happy to be on your show.
Good.
Thank you.
Good indeed. Well, Wenu, I know you've had an interesting background. You were telling me previously you've lived in a lot of places. I was wondering if you could just give us a little summary of where you grew up, kind of the schooling you did, the work you did, things like that.
Sure, sure. So I grew up in Patagonia, Argentina, in a small little town called Esquel. And we were very free growing up. I used to go skiing every single day in the mornings with the ski school. I used to go to school in the afternoon. We spent a lot of time in nature. It was a wonderful childhood. When I was 9 years old, we moved to Buenos Aires due to my parents' work. And when I was 12, we moved to South Africa, to Pretoria. And when I was 15, we moved to Cape Town. So by the time I got to Cape Town, which is where I am now, I'd already moved around quite a bit. I finished high school here. I had a pretty good life, I would say, as a child, great parents, like solid family. My parents did get divorced at 15, but I think they handled it very well. I don't think I was too scarred from it. And I wanted to study hotel management for many years. I think I just liked the idea of owning a hotel eventually. So I was very fortunate to study in Switzerland. My dad's job actually paid for it, which was very fortunate. It was quite an expensive school. So I was very grateful to go there. And I studied in Switzerland, did pretty well. And I really got the travel bug, if I didn't have it already. And I traveled a lot. Switzerland is so well located in the center of Europe. So I just got out every single chance I could. Once I finished studying, I lived between England and France for a couple of years, doing the winters in France and summers in England, because I really craved the snow. I'm a big snow bunny and love skiing. And yeah, so I did that for a few years, and eventually I immigrated to Canada.
Wow.
Yeah, so my brother had been living in Canada for a year, and you could apply to immigrate to Canada if you made certain criteria. So I moved to Vancouver, and I was in Vancouver for about half a year, and then eventually I got this pull to go to the snow again. So I moved to Whistler, lived in Whistler for 4 years, but I also did, you weren't expecting this answer, Peter, because it's a long answer. It's like where I've lived. I did two summers in Kelowna, British Columbia, and then two winters in Sun Peaks. So I moved around quite a bit there in BC. And then I moved back to South Africa in 2005. And I haven't moved since, which is really crazy. I was a bit worried when I moved back because I started a business and I thought, oh my gosh, what if I get itchy feet again? I used to get itchy feet a lot. But when I moved back here, I loved it. And although I lived a year and a half in Argentina and I was an adult, I came back a year and a half ago. So that was interesting because I hadn't left Cape Town for quite a while, but I've got children now and I wanted them to have a bit of an Argentinian experience, and it was quite nice, you know, got them to learn Spanish and so on. And now I'm here. Now I'm in Cape Town. So I'm in Cape Town. I love it here. Yeah, I could keep talking about my background, but I don't know how much more you want to know. Yeah.
Well, the first thing that struck me is you must have quite a few languages. Excuse me.
I do. I tend to show off a bit with that. So I speak four fluently and a few others. So the fluent ones are, you know, English, Spanish, French, and Italian, because I lived in France and Switzerland. And in Switzerland, I also lived in the Italian part, and I just studied Italian. It's quite easy if you speak Spanish. And then here in South Africa, we speak Afrikaans, or some people speak Afrikaans, which is like a descendant of Dutch. It's like an easy Dutch. It's like how Dutch was spoken, you know, hundreds of years ago. And it's very easy language, not the nicest, but very easy. So I wouldn't say I'm fluent on it, but I'm like, I don't know, 80%. And then I studied German for many years. So, you know, ich kann auch Deutsch sprechen, but not that great. And also, my dad lived in Brazil for a while, so I spent a lot of time there. So Portuguese. And then I studied Japanese for quite a while, and I went to Japan a few times. But I have to say that was like my rustiest one because it's been a long time. But I love it. I love languages. I love languages. If I were to move somewhere, I would like study it immediately. It's my thing. Also, there's a lot of nuances that you pick up when you speak the language. You know, when you're in that culture, that language is very cultural. So I like that about it as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We have a young woman living with us from Korea, and she's struggling with English, but learning it. And I Googled one time number of words per language, and Korean is right up there with the most.
Really
The Latin languages, not so much. They're down the list a fair ways.
interesting.
English is a little higher than most of them because it's a combination of a couple.
Yeah.
Um,
English is not that hard to learn. English speaking people think it's very hard. I don't think so. I mean, Spanish and Italian and French, you know, the Latin ones are a little bit harder. And I mean, studying others as well, they get harder. You know, the Eastern European languages are quite hard. I mean, obviously Chinese, super hard. Japanese, not that hard, if you speak at the baby level. Anyway, it's fascinating.
yeah,
I enjoy it.
this trail of fair ways. I've wrestled with a bit of Chinese and excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. But we're supposed to be talking about channeling today. And
Yeah, different kind of translation. Yeah.
yeah, you've done some businesses prior to ORYKL.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little about them and then what brought you to ORYKL and what's it about?
Mm. Yeah, so I think I'm an entrepreneur at heart. When I lived in Canada, I had my first business. It was like an interactive amusement ride. It's actually still around. If you go to Whistler, it's called Spin Cycle Thrill Rides. And we used to have like a bungee trampoline and a human gyroscope. There's an adventure zone in Whistler in the summer. So we had a couple of games there, or yeah, interactive amusement rides. And then when I left Canada, I came here into Cape Town and I started a company called Adventure Bootcamp, which actually exists in the States. I did a course in California and I came here, but we're not associated in any way. And I had that for 11 years and it did pretty well. I started in Cape Town and then we grew to eventually over 40 franchises all over the country. And yeah, I love that business. It basically is an outdoor fitness program for women where we train 3 or 5 times a week outdoors in beautiful spaces. And there's lots of beautiful spaces here in South Africa. And I loved it because I also became pretty healthy myself. I always was, but you know, when you do a business, you just become consumed with, with what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then in 2012, I still had Adventure Bootcamp. I started an outdoor cinema called the Galileo. and it's still here in Cape Town, the Galileo Open Air Cinema, and that's it's a beautiful, wonderful experience where you go again to a beautiful place. There's again many here in Cape Town, and we have this massive inflatable screen and food vendors and beautiful chairs that where you sit bum on the ground, and blankets and games. And so people come and socialize, eat food, there's music. And then when it gets dark enough to watch the movie, the food vendors leave, and then you watch the movie under the stars. And it's a really, really cool business. I had that for 9 years, and I sold it like 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago, 2021, January 2021. So about 3 years ago. And then I took a bit of a, I just took a bit of a break. I was pregnant with my second child. That's when we went to Argentina for a while, just to have the Argentinian experience. And I really had the idea to do ORYKL when I still had the Galileo, because I knew that I wanted to sell it. It was time, it was a lot of like evening work. And I had really put out the intention that my next business had to be to help the world. I really wanted to have some sort of global impact. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to help, and it had to be meaningful. And I really hadn't given much thought to it because I was still very busy with my business. But I was meditating one night. I meditate in the evenings, and I was just sitting there like every day. And the idea came to me, the whole thing came to me in like sort of one split second. And I just, even the word ORYKL, which is now spelled a little bit different than Oracle, but ORYKL, the O, it was just like flew towards me, and the whole idea. And by that stage, I'd been listening to a lot of channeling material, like a lot of Bashar and Abraham Hicks and Cryon and a few others. And I'd already been doing some automatic writing, which I never really called channeling even to this day. But I remember sitting with my eyes closed and just like typing this whole idea. And this was in 2018. And really, I've been sort of typing since. So that's how this business came about. And I feel like it's perfect for me. It just like ticks all the things that I want to do with a business. And I think it's also my purpose here to bring this information.
Yeah.
So.
Well, tell us a little more about it. What exactly goes on at ORYKL? What's its purpose?
Yeah. So well, channeling is a form of communication with the spirit world. A channeler is able to raise their vibration and tap into the frequency of another entity, perhaps a specific being or a consciousness field, and they're able to let that entity or energy field speak through them. That's what they call like a trance channeler. Sometimes they might hear and translate. But essentially, you would be, if you're speaking to a channeler, you would be speaking directly to the entity that they channel, and you can ask questions back and forth. And what's so great about it is that because the entity that they connect with is residing sort of in a higher dimension, they have a bigger vantage point. It's almost like zooming out of your life and being able to see the whole picture. So they can see into your life's purpose. They can see into past lives. They can see into your like really your soul essence, and also sort of global events and the whole sort of mechanics of reality. And so the questions that you can ask are wide and varied, and you can touch on absolutely any topic. And they'll give you information that you can't really get anywhere else, especially when it comes to your particular life, and as I said, past lives, or your ancestral lineage, or your lives in other places. And so I personally find it fascinating. I love it. I think it's super helpful and empowering. And ORYKL, what ORYKL is just a platform for channelers, where people can go and look for the channeler that resonates with them. We have a wide variety of channelers who channel a wide variety of beings, and you can find the one that resonates with you and book a session. All our sessions are 1 hour long, and that includes like an introduction. Usually it's quite brief, the channeling part, and a brief farewell at the end. They are recorded, so you can listen to them as many times as you want afterwards. We also actually have a little AI tool that gives it to you in text, like the summary of what was discussed. And I just really think it's super, super helpful for people. It's like a therapy session. It's like the best therapy session you'll ever have, that you can listen back to time and time again, and that teaches us about us, right? Who we really are, and why we're here, and all of these things that we struggle with. They tend to have really, really good explanations of why things are the way they are. So I'm very passionate about it.
Um, for a channeler to get onto your platform, ORYKL, they must qualify in some way, or you must vet them in some way. What goes on there?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Peter, for me, the most important thing I would say is that the people that are on ORYKL are the real deal. I would never have anybody on there that wasn't. I mean, I'm not interested in quantity. There's plenty of channelers, believe it or not. I'm 100% interested in quality. And so what we do is, well, we check a lot of their online content first before we even meet with them. And if there isn't anything on, especially videos, and especially videos of them channeling. Um, and we're very good. I'm mainly doing myself now. I've got an assistant. It's getting really busy, but I've got an assistant she actually introduced me to channeling. She's been working with a channeler for 8 years, one-on-one. She's done channeling courses. She is incredibly spiritual and wonderful. And so her and I have a very good discernment, and we can tell pretty quickly if this is somebody who's really channeling or not. So that's the first thing, is we check all their online content, make sure it's all like up to scratch. And then the next thing we do is we have an interview with them, where we just get to know them first. And then, of course, we have a channeling session. And I look for two things. The first is, are they channeling? And how clear of a channel are there? Because oftentimes people are channeling, but remember, it's always a bit of a co-creation. So some of your personality can get a little bit in the way. And when you've done this, like I have, like so many times, you can tell pretty quickly. And sometimes it's either a bias or a particular point of view that they're trying to get across, or it's more of a telling. So there's all these little nuances that tell me that is not as clear and pure of a channel as I'd want them to be. And not to say that they're not channeling, it's just that maybe they need a little more practice to like put the ego aside and put the mind aside and their personality aside, so that it's just a free flow of cosmic or spiritual energy that comes through. And so so I look for that first, and secondly I look at their intention. Because my intention with ORYKL is very heart-centered. I mean, I really want to help humanity elevate human consciousness. I really want to create this beautiful new world that I know is coming for all of us. And that is my intention. And it's okay if channelers have other intentions, that's absolutely fine. But I want people that are very aligned with that mission. I want people that are really here to help. And sometimes channelers, and that's again okay, are kind of, their intention is to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I also wouldn't be doing this if we weren't going to make money eventually, but money is a byproduct for me. It's like, it's my secondary reason for doing it. And so I look for channelers that are very pure in their intention, and that makes for a really great team. We have the most amazing team. Last night we had a team get together because we're launching Learn How to Channel courses, and I can tell you it was one of the most incredible meetings, because our intention is so pure and so aligned. So anyway, so those are the two big things that I look for. And then if we both agree, I invite them on board, and then there's a whole onboarding process. But yeah, that's how it goes. And now before I used to actively look for them. Before I used to actually, before we launched ORYKL, I would just have sessions. I would just pay for a session, don't tell them who I am or anything. And at the end, I would either invite them or tell them about it, or or I wouldn't.
Mhm.
And now they have heard about it through here and there, and so they come to us. So it's, I guess, a little bit easier and cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah, that intention is so important. And
Yeah.
I imagine from among the beings that are channeled and the channelers themselves, as you say, it's kind of a blending. The
Mm,
styles can be quite different. Um,
mm,
I've noticed some channelers are great teachers. They often don't answer the question as much as they ask good questions and they draw the information out of the
right.
individual. Others will just, you ask a question, you'll get an answer. And some have got great humor, some are a little
Yes.
spockish, but yeah,
Yes.
yeah, they're fun. And I
Yeah.
know,
So we try and give people as much of a taste as possible. We have more coming actually on the platform. So at the moment, if you go, there's a little video of each channeler. But if you click on their particular page, some of them you'll see have more videos. And as I say, we're trying to get everybody to fill this in. But what I want is for people to see them in the channeling state, because it can be quite different.
yes.
Sometimes they speak slower, sometimes they speak faster, sometimes the accents changes altogether. We've got a channeler actually who stutters, and when he channels, it's like no stutter whatsoever. It's just like clearest channel. And so it's important for people to see that, also to set the expectation. And as you say, I mean, there are different, some of them tend to do more like energetic clearing. There's a couple that do light language. So yeah, they are different.
Mhm. Ultimately, I suspect your business purpose is to assist people in their spiritual development. That'd be about right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I would say people that come to ORYKL are already aware of their spiritual selves. They have, they're not newbies to meditation. It's because it can be quite out there. Some of these people are channeling extra dimensional beings and all kinds of things. And for somebody that's not in the spiritual world at all, that might be like too much for them to take in. But if you've started your spiritual journey and you're looking to enhance it, and you're looking to get to know who you really are at a much deeper level, and you want to build your intuition so that you can tap yourself into your higher self and get these answers that are really waiting there for you to tap into them, this is a good thing for you to do. It's also good for people that are ready to make changes in their lives, who have or are willing to let go of the victim role and are willing to let go of the stories that we make up for ourselves, and who really are ready to empower themselves. Because it's a very empowering thing, because ultimately we really are the creators of our own reality, and we have the power to do and be all the things that we want to. And so this teaches you how, and often it gives you very practical tips on what to do, particular to your situation. So for me, it's like the best therapy session ever. And it's great for those people that are looking to, as they deepen their spiritual journeys, deepen their understanding of themselves, and do so sometimes with the help of all of these cosmic spiritual beings, that it's also so fascinating. I mean, the entities that are channeled are very, very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I think too, you bring a rather unique perspective. We're both in the channeling business and we support channelers. And, I spent a career wearing three-piece suits and sitting in boardrooms and bank towers and things like that. And, you've had your own businesses as an entrepreneur. You don't find that commonly in the channeling world. And,
Mm, I
I
know.
think we're used to setting priorities and organizing things. It's, I guess, we just don't burn incense all day and sit in the lotus position. And
You're
that
so
might be
right. I mean,
refreshing to
that
some people.
combination, it's not that common. And I have to say, when I first thought about this idea, I was like, actually, it's a great idea, because a lot of the spiritual websites are not that great. And there's no fault on them. It's because spiritual people are so heart-centered that they're not necessarily like business people, you know, they're just pouring their heart out, or they're more on the creative side, you know, the art. And you do need a bit of a, well, I've got a more of a business mind, you know. I always say the first half of my life, I'm 46 now, you know, up to 45, I feel like I was very head-led, and that served me very well. And I got to, you know, do a lot of things, and I do a lot of businesses in particular, and I'm very structured and organized. But now I've like slowly ventured into the heart space, and, you know, I've had my children, and that really opened up for me, like my heart. And now this business, I'm doing it with all the knowledge of my head and all my business background, but from a heart space. And it's such a cool experience for me. It's been in a way, well, yeah, in a way, it's been the easiest business. It's also been hard because I work 24/7, but not really. It hasn't been hard because it's been so enjoyable, and things have just sort of gone in the flow. So in that way, it's been different to others, because I don't, as soon as I struggle with something, as soon as like I'm kind of like, you know, like not getting where I want to get to, I just stop. I realize that that's not where I'm meant to be going. I go, no, 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 this is supposed to be easy. I'll meditate on it. And honestly, like the answer will come in some way. So that's why I say it's like the easiest business, because it's a hard-led business, but with also understanding that there are some things that you need to do. And, you know, yeah, there's a checkbox on how to start a business. And I've started many other businesses, by the way. I mean, I've done lots of little things here and there and helped people with their business. So it's really great to have that combination of business and spirituality, because it's not that common, as you say, in the spiritual world. Yeah.
I could certainly identify with it. You know, I was very type A, and you know, goals and priorities and deadlines and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And now I'm wrestling with and learning that no, you can leave the details pretty much to the higher self, and you know, the guides or whatever. They'll sort it out. It's going to happen. You just have to intend that it happens.
Right.
And there's a big element of trust that you don't find in the business world that really applies in what I'm discovering is the real world.
Definitely. I mean, 100%. And it's so true that that element of trust doesn't exist in the business world. I mean, you need data and you need logic for everything. If there's no data or logic or systems, you know, you don't do it. Whereas a spiritual life, I would say, is a lot more intuitive, right? It either feels right or it doesn't feel right, or you go for it or not. And it's an interesting combination. I'm leaning more towards the latter now. In fact, yeah, more and more so every day. If it feels right, I do it. If it doesn't, I don't do it. And actually, you know what? It's working out super well. In
Yeah,
fact, it hasn't you know, done me wrong so far.
yeah, no, I agree absolutely. It was a big change in my approach to things, and yeah. Um, the channelers, you mentioned Bashar. I got onto him probably 35 years or so ago. I think he's been in the business, or Daryl has, for about 40 years. Back then, I guess there wasn't an internet, so you couldn't quite compare apples to apples, but I'll bet there weren't that much more channelers around. And today you can go on YouTube and find hundreds of them. From your perspective, what's going on here? Are there more channelers today, do you think? And if so, what's the reason?
I think, and this is again like a gut feel, that there are, but I think that it's just because we are more open to all of these things. I think that if we were, you know, 10 or 30, 50, 100 years ago, we were more open to it, there would be the same amount. But I think that because now it's becoming a little bit more mainstream, I mean, starting from, you know, meditation, and then everything that's related to, you know, awareness and consciousness. I mean, Gaia, is amazing, and more people are watching those kind of programs. And so because of the internet and because of all of these different modalities, the Eastern philosophies coming into everybody's living room, we are being exposed to a lot more. And so I think that the people that, you know, were doing some sort of channeling that before 50 years ago would have been on their own and wouldn't have known what to do with it, or would have thought they were super weird, today they can understand what's happening. They can look for communities in which to share this with others. They can find courses on how to enhance their abilities. And so, yes, it is becoming more and more, you know, seen all around us. And even I know, because I speak to a lot of channelers that have been doing it for a long time, they tell me themselves, oh, you know, again, 20 years ago, I wouldn't have really spoken about this like to too many people. And now I just talk to everybody. So yeah, so it's becoming more common, and that's pretty cool for me, because I think also like everything really, the more practice you put into it, the better you get. I mean, there's a natural, some people are more naturals at everything in life. You know, you get these natural singers, and they say everybody can sing, and I think that's true. But if you're a natural singer, it's a lot easier for you to sing, and you know, the same thing here. So it's nice that people are having the chance to practice and do this more. And so, yeah, there's, you know, I think there's tens of thousands of channelers right now that could potentially be channeling for other people. That's the number that I've got in my head from my research.
It's that question, got the same number too. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think every channeler I've dealt with, or almost every channeler, has wrestled with this idea of what do I tell my family? What do I tell my friends? And, you know, I've dealt now with 87 individuals who are all channeling, but about a third of them want to do it publicly. And a few others are working towards that, but there are others who are just holding back. They might do it for family or close friends, people they trust. But I think they're shining their light anyway, even if they don't take it out to the public. You know,
Yeah.
I think
Well,
channeling.
I mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just by virtue of channeling, they're raising their vibration, which raises the collective vibration, and it has a beneficial effect for everybody. But yeah, I suppose the trend in channeling parallels the trend in spiritual development to a considerable
Sure.
degree.
Yeah, yeah. And I would say that channeling is more sort of at the end of it. You know, it's like first comes meditation, all these other things, and then channeling, but it's all moving up. You know, it's more filtering, it's all being filtered to the society more and more and more and more. And so meditation may be ahead of channeling, and there's all these different things, but channeling is sort of coming in behind. And I mean, on Gaia, maybe 9 months ago, a year ago, for a long time, the homepage was their channeling documentary, which is now a year old, which is Channeling: A Bridge to the Beyond, which is a wonderful documentary. And so that was on their homepage for ages. And obviously that reaches a lot of people, and, you know, more people become aware of it. So, yeah, I think it's great. And I think that what's important for channelers that are not feeling confident telling their family or friends, I would say that not everybody has to be on your same page, because this isn't about convincing anybody. It's about you shining your light, doing what's you know, really makes you feel good, what you resonate. And by the way, all channelers love channeling, because it's a space of a lot of love, right? They're filled with love. That's a common thing that all of them feel. They love channeling. And so doing that feels really good for them, and they know they're helping. So I would say, you know, if your sister, brother, mother, father doesn't believe in it, like really, that's okay. And they don't have to. You know, my dad's a die-hard scientist. You know, he studied science. He's written many books on science, even though he's into quantum physics now, which also ties into spirituality. He takes it very much from a scientific approach. And I don't try and convince my dad. I mean, I got a platform for channelers, which is as like far from him as I could go, but we treat each other with a lot of respect. And I think that's it. You have to you have to respect others' opinions if they don't believe you, or that's okay. I mean, you've got yours, and that's fine. And also, like, I speak about it quite openly, and I know that a lot of people that I speak to have no idea. I mean, they I don't know what they think about it, but they probably think this is like the weirdest thing ever. And I just speak normally about it. And again, I say, it's not for everybody. I'm not telling you to believe this by any means, but this is what I'm doing. This is what channeling is. This is how it works. There's actually also science behind it, which is something we really want to incorporate into ORYKL, because there is a science. I mean, some of our channelers have had like an EEG attached to their head, like Daryl in his movie, and there's major changes in the brain's activity when they're channeling, which is unexplainable, and so I want to bring in a lot of that as well. And it's at least for ORYKL, for me, it's a platform that is there for people that resonate with it. It's an invitation to those who are ready. It's not a push on anything. And again, I respect all religions and all beliefs. But if you're ready, and if you're curious, and if you're led to it, there's a reason for it, and go and discover, or start with Bashar and start listening to what he says. And does it resonate with you? Is the information helpful to you? Ultimately, that's it. Does this help you? And if it does, why not, right?
That's the bottom line, yeah. I'm asked to give talks on it every once in a while. And, people say, well, I don't believe that. And I say, well, you probably don't have any reason to. Just hang around, keep your mind open, listen to the content. If it makes sense to you, feel free to embrace it. But if it doesn't, move on, find something that does. The beings themselves say they're not here to convince anybody of anything. They're delivering messages, take them or leave them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we all have free will. And and nobody's better than anybody else either. Go on the path that's your path. Just be true to your path, and be happy. And if this helps you to do that, great. I mean, I think it does. I think it helps a lot of people. But to each their own.
Yeah, the beings are pretty modest in all of this. I like to use the analogy of the apartment building. We might be on the first floor, and when we look out, we see a certain, across the street, down the street, whatever. But they're on the 10th floor, and they look out and they see over the buildings and a lot more than we do. But they readily admit they can be wrong. I've had the Palladians tell me, look, we're somewhat like your parents. We know more than you do, but we can be wrong. So please be discerning, think things through, check them out, look around, and come to your own conclusions. But they certainly can stimulate some thinking, fresh thinking.
Sure. I love that analogy of being in an apartment building. It's funny because here in Cape Town, I live in an apartment, and I'm on the 15th floor, but it feels like it's the 20th floor and there's only one like high apartment. And I thought it was quite funny that I ended up living here because I got the most wonderful view. Because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give people like a vantage point that's a little bit higher through these beings, because that is what they do. They can zoom out of your life and have a much bigger viewpoint, and that's how they can know more things about you, right? So I always think it's funny that I ended up living here and doing this business.
Yeah. Well, based on all you've encountered, if someone comes to you and says, I want to develop my spirituality, how do you respond to that? What can you suggest for them?
I would say, firstly, realize that everybody is different. So, what might work for me or my friend might not necessarily work for you. So be honest with yourself about what works. If somebody's giving you an idea or a tip and you try and it just doesn't work or you don't like it, that's okay. There's a million other things that you can do. But I would say that the basis that I would encourage like everybody to do is some sort of meditation. I mean, I'm sure most of your listeners already do this, but I think meditation is absolutely crucial. I mean, it's already been proven scientifically to assist in so many things. And it's about, giving the mind a little break and not getting the mind to control everything in your life. So just let it sort of, just put it aside. Normally when I meditate, you know what I do? I actually literally visualize me lifting my brain up, going like this and going, thank you so much. I really love you and I appreciate you, but I just for a minute, just be quiet. Just sit here and don't do anything. Don't, just sit and let me just tap into my heart. And in whichever way you want to do that, just tap into your heart space, your heart center, and rest there. And don't worry if the thought comes back into your head. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just say, okay, that's cool. I've just realized that this thought has come into my head, which is great now because I realized I can again put it aside. And you just connect with that heart space. You need a little bit of time. And I would say each day, it's much better to do this each day for 5 minutes a day than to do it 1 hour even once a week, I would say. Because this repetition, this reminding yourself every single day that you are more than this physical reality, that when you connect with your heart space, you connect into your soul and to who you really are, because this physical body is going to die and rots, at some point, but who you are, who's inside, is not. It's alive forever and ever. So tap into that essence of who you are, and that's a wonderful beginning. And then there's like a million things that you can do, from all kinds of meditations to yoga. So of course, channeling, I mean, come and have a channeling session. And even, as I said earlier, we are coming up with some channeling courses, and they're going to be really fantastic. I'm so excited. We're probably going to launch in the next few months, and we'll have something for beginners. So something that's more to tap into your higher self and your intuition. And then we'll have one to really become a channeler. And we'll have one for those that are already channeling, like even some of our guys, to enhance their channeling abilities. So I'm super excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Meditation is, I'm a big fan of meditation. I think all the science talks about things like improved reaction time, skin resistance to disease, and it goes on and on. But I think they're all just byproducts of an expanded consciousness. And really, your vibration is rising, so your consciousness expands. You just understand more about what's going on within you and around you. And,
Right.
meditation to me, I would give up sports and physical development, I think, before meditation in a heartbeat. It's
Yeah,
so valuable.
it's crucial.
Yeah, 2024 is upon us now. You getting any thoughts or insights into what we might be looking at?
So, I mean, personally, yes, but I would rather tell you what channelers are saying, because let's go with what they've got to say in their channeling states. And it's apparently going to be a really great year for those people that are on a spiritual journey and want to enhance or speed up, advance their spiritual lives, because we're opening up to a lot of, again, cosmic energies. There's a lot of help right now on planet Earth from these beings, and just really the entire universe has got their eyes on us. And so we've got a fantastic opportunity to really, again, get to know ourselves and to develop spiritually. So if you've been toying with the idea of again, meditation and spirituality, this year is going to be wonderful. It will really apparently be the year where things will be accelerated, especially from April, May. Those 2 months are going to be big years. So it's important to, before April, to get your ducks in a row. So those things that have been bothering you, whether it's a relationship or something that you know you need to do, or whatever it might be, health, finance, try and get your ducks in a row so that you get into April with a clear mind, as clear as possible, and then take those months to tap into yourself and to see what you can create with your reality, right? Because tapping into ourselves, so why do we do that? Well, we do that to create this beautiful life that we want for ourselves, and we can do it. So it takes a little bit of dedication. Again, this thing about meditation, and I say meditation, some people maybe are not into it. It doesn't have to be specifically meditation. It could be time in nature. It could be just quiet time, just something that gives your mind a little break and allows you to just pause for a little bit. So that's what they've been saying. And then again, others have predicted, I don't know what to say, and this is, maybe I shouldn't even say it because it's been through not necessarily some of the Oracle channelers, but something big apparently is going to happen. I don't know if necessarily good, but that's again going to catapult us into looking inwards. I say that with caution, though. I mean, don't expect bad things. I just think it's a wonderful year of opportunity for spiritual and personal growth.
Well, I think you're right. And vibrating at the level you are, that's the way you would see it. But there are some people who are not on a spiritual path, and some of the turmoil in the world that's going on right now, wars and shortages and things like that, it's going to bother them a little more. And one of the traps that we can find ourselves in as light workers is we can say, oh, it's so sad that people are involved in Gaza or the Ukraine and things like that. And we can get caught up in the negative emotions associated with those things if we're not careful. Any thoughts on how we might, in a sense, spiritually protect ourselves from some of that stuff that's going on around us?
Yeah. So my personal take on it is, and some people might call this selfish, but I avoid the news like the plague. I avoid the news at all costs.
Yeah.
And I've had people tell me, my mom including, oh, but you really need to know what's going on. And I go, why? Why do I need to know what's going on? Like, how is that going to help me? And I understand, there is a balance with, caring and and just being really, it's a fine line, and this is the problem. If we could just care and still feel good, that would be something. But the problem is that when we watch the news, we feel terrible. And I mean, understandably so, you're watching suffering and dying. And I mean, how could you, it's very hard to watch something like that and not feel bad. Now, the thing that you got to think about is as you're watching this, you are feeling terrible. You're like scared perhaps, or you're angry and you're frustrated. Then you go out into the world and you are vibrating at that level. You are, whether you like it or not, this fear and this anger shines through to others around you. So in you trying to do something good, like being aware of what's going on in the world, you're actually making yourself feel bad, and you're making everybody around you feel bad and worried and stressed and anxious. So you're not really doing anybody any favors unless you really want to get involved and, help in some way. And look, sometimes helping so if you do want to be informed and you're not prepared to like switch off the news, fine, watch it, but don't get too attached, and then do something about it. Now, what can you do about it? You can truly just send loving thoughts to those people. You can you know, maybe visualize this, you know, turmoil like coming to an end. You can send peace to whatever you want, you know, to the children, to the people that have, you know, made to fight, to the leaders. At least you're doing something about it, and feel good while you're doing that. Feel good, feel like you're helping. Then at least you will be in a better vibration to help those around you and yourself. So that's one tip. And then the second tip would be that no, I actually said it. Which is that, you know, it's just, you know, yeah, be cautious with when you listen to all of this, and be aware of how it makes you feel and what you're contributing to the world by the way that you carry yourself. You know, I yeah, I really don't get too involved, unfortunately. And also I think that we have to understand that, I know this is hard to understand, but people do come into this life with a certain with certain contracts that they want to experience. You know, every life is valid. And even if you are the guy in the middle of Gaza shooting another guy or being shot at, there are um, some soul contracts that are decided before we come into this life. And you know, it's very exciting to be here on earth because we experience extremes, right? Like extreme fear and sadness and everything, and extreme joy and excitement. It's a crazy ride. And what you need to realize is that we're just here for a split second, considering our infinite existence. And so it might feel really bad, but in terms of our soul, it's over in a split second. And sometimes I compare it to video games. Now, if you play a video game, and I don't play any video games, admittedly, I'm not into them, but if you do play a video game, and if you were to play something that was really easy, let's say a little man is just walking and you know, nothing much happens and it just becomes boring, right? As a player, like, oh, you know, you need some challenge. So as you start getting a challenge and the little man is like hopping or, you know, going through this and almost dies, but doesn't. And it's quite exciting. And as you get over the challenge, you go, yes, you know, I did it. And then you go, okay, let's go to level 2, right? And then you go level 2 really hard. And then you make it, and you're like, yeah. And the harder it gets, the more fulfilling it gets, like the better kick you get out of it. And it sounds crazy, but in terms of our soul, when we come here, it's almost like we're playing a video game. We decide to come, we decide to forget who we are, we decide to have these feelings of pain and suffering, and the whole point of the game is just to get over it, to to master it, right? And so that's what you should try and do. Like when you have a challenge, okay, cool, I've decided to have this challenge. How am I going to master it? How am I going to be fine afterward? Not just fine, but great. And we can do that. And I mean, if you've read of, you know, people that have been in concentration camps or jail or terrible things, and they come out of it like a lot more enlightened human beings, well, they were able to, you know, sort of get to that next level. So in as horrible as it is to watch this pain and suffering, those souls are wanting to go through that experience because we're all playing this video game, and they've chosen that thing. In fact, they've been very courageous. They say that people that experience like really hardships in their lives, they are very gutsy, you know, their souls are very gutsy, but they have this massive potential of learning and of expanding. It's almost like the further back you throw the bungee cord, you know, the further forwards you're going to go. So if you look at it from that perspective, it's not about not feeling empathy and not caring, but understanding that everybody has a life journey, and that's okay. You know, not everybody's meant to come here and just, you know, smell the roses and just live in a chocolate-filled world where everything's perfect. It's just not meant to be that way.
Well, I've heard it put that those people in Gaza are there by agreement, you know, soul
Yeah.
agreement for the better good. And
It's hard to
I
believe, but
heard I heard somebody say one time, it may have been a channel being, I'm not sure, but imagine that long, long, long time ago, there were these very powerful spiritual beings, and together they were wondering, what are we going to do next to as creators? And somebody said, well, why don't we take on physicality forget who we are and see if we can get out of it.
Mm.
And they said, yeah, wouldn't that be a great game? And here we are.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's yeah. Well, I've been watching the clock here as well as everything that's transpired, and I think we're going to have to wrap this up. But is there anything that we didn't cover that you might like an audience to know about pertaining to Oracle or anything else for that matter?
Well, thanks, Peter. Well, I would say if you've watched this far and you are intrigued, head over to Oracle, and that's ORYKL.com. Have a look and see what chandlers are on offer, watch the little videos and try out a session. It's really very eye-opening, and as I said, very empowering. It's very loving, very healing. There's a lot of energetic healing that happens. It will raise your vibration as well, because these entities are vibrating a lot higher than we are, and you're going to have a fantastic experience. So try that out. And otherwise, continue what you're doing, remain heart-centered, and just have fun. We're here to also have fun. We take life a little too
We are.
seriously sometimes. Let's just have a good ride. There's a lot to enjoy.
We're here to play. We're here to experience, here to experiment. Yeah. Yeah, well said. Thank you. Bueno, thank
Thank
you very much for all of this. This has really been a pleasure. It's, we could go off in different directions together, I'm sure, and exhaust all the time. But you're doing great things here and really shining your light, and I congratulate you for that and thank you for it. Thank you for being here with me today again, and I wish you and Oracle every success going forward.
Thank you so much, Peter. It's just great. And thank you for your help. I know we've been in touch before. I really appreciate it. And I love what you're doing too. So thank you too.
And I thank the audience for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this and came away with something. Bye for now.